Ask if Lola is still our ASG rep?
I would assume that she is. I have not heard otherwise.
Okay.
I can reach out to, why am I blanking? The president, what's his name? Somebody help me.
Carter.
There we go.
Carson
Biden.
Regional.
Gosh, I know that. I knew that. I can reach out to Carson to double check, but as far as
Carson.
you know, Patricia, she is our rep.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting officially to order on this day, January 27th, 2021 at 3:04 p.m. I'm going to share my screen with you all so that you can see the agenda. I'll just call out, we have our Senate community values that I'm really proud of our work on for this one. We also have our Zoom meeting guidelines that in practice we have been relaxing. So I'll remind you that if you would like to contribute your virtual hand, it has moved. I don't know if many of you have noticed that with the recent update with Zoom that you were probably forced to do, that it has moved. It is now under, on your own screens, it's now under reactions. So if you were to click on the main bottom bar, reactions, there is a raise hand option. So should you, it's right there, Elray, sorry. Elray had a dentist appointment, got a green balloon. So if you're looking to raise your hand and participate, that's where it is in the newest update of Zoom. I will explain a little bit more about our land acknowledgement and the direction that is going. But this time I'm going to call upon a volunteer to read our land acknowledgement. And if you didn't notice, I did add new language to the bottom of this item, the 3 asterisks. So I'll just read that now so that as land acknowledgement is being read, we can keep this in mind. SBCC's campus located on indigenous land of the coastal band of the Chumash Nation. In recognizing the Chumash community, we say this land acknowledgement at the start of our academic senate meetings to pay respect to the Chumash people. This allows us to pause and consider the histories and settler colonialism that have brought us here. While we are in remote working conditions, it is important to remember that Chumash land is the central and southern coastal regions of California, extending from Morro Bay in the north to Malibu in the south, in portions of what is now San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Los Angeles counties. And if you are not in this local area, you can discover whose indigenous land you are on with this interactive map that is linked here. We ask that you take time during the reading of the land acknowledgement to honor those that hold the memories, the traditions, and the culture of your local area. And I'll talk about the land acknowledgement later, but at this time, do we have a volunteer to read our land acknowledgement? Okay, then I'd be happy to.
I'd be happy to read it.
Oh wait, Jen Betancourt raised her hand. Thanks, Michelle. Go ahead, Jen. Thank you.
Okay. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, the land that Santa Barbara City College sits upon, their home. We are honored to be guests upon this land and are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding.
Thank you so much, Jen. Okay, so the agenda has been posted and distributed. The items that will be taken out of order today are the timed presentations that we have later on in our, in our agenda. So Unless there's other comments about the agenda, I will assume that agenda is accepted by the Senate body. We are now at the public comment, and I will remind everyone how our public comments have changed. I can't, sorry, bud. I'll be right there. While I'm doing all of this. Okay, so at the beginning of the meeting, like I did just now, we get to the public. This is a time for anyone from the public, literally from the public, capital P, will have an opportunity to give a comment about anything they'd like, or a request to make a public comment about an item, and I can call upon them right before the item. In addition to that, we also passed a resolution for allowing more voices at our Senate table. And so anyone from the Santa Barbara City College community can provide now or at a later agenda item, and or you can declare when I ask repeatedly throughout the meeting if there's anyone that would like to give a public comment before items. This is a newer way of doing things for us, so I would appreciate a little bit of grace. So if you are here in attendance now and you want to comment later and don't want to speak up now and you're from the Santa Barbara City College community, please just help me remember that I'm supposed to do that as I'm getting used to this new idea and asking for those comments repeatedly. So now that I've said all that, I'll ask again, is there anyone from the public or the Santa Barbara City community that would like to make public comment now or at a time later in the meeting? If so, please raise your participant hand. Okay, Dr. Arthur Olguin, go ahead and unmute yourself and provide your public comment.
Yes, hi. I wanted to alert you that I have a couple of things to say about some later items on the agenda. So I'll raise my hand before or when you get to those items.
Yes,
but
please.
But the only other comment that I have is somewhat of a question that I know that you can't answer during this public comment period. But I'm hoping that at some point in time, you could offer some sort of clarification when appropriate to clarify the confusion that I have, because it seemed to me that either in the last couple of meetings, there was some question about the land acknowledgement statement, and it almost seemed, at least how I was interpreting it, that the Chumash community was perhaps questioning whether or not they wanted us to do that, to do the land acknowledgement. And I didn't know whether they had initiated this or whether we had initiated this or something, but it raised the question. I don't understand it, is what the issue is, I guess. And if it is something that we had initiated, then that would concern me. And maybe I don't need to be concerned, but it would concern me because it would seem as if we were to withdraw that would be like going back on some sort of agreement with a prior Senate or prior agreement. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Art, because I was going to address it in my president's report. I had intended on doing that. Could you hear me?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. So, okay. Moving, let me just say, is there anyone else that would like to provide public comment at? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, virtual hands raised, so we will move on to item 4.1, approval of our minutes. Chances are, if you check this out prior to the meeting, you found that the unapproved or approved, actually, bylaws were attached to this item. That was completely my fault. I saw, quote, unapproved in the meeting folder from last time, and so I grabbed it and slapped them here. So I apologize for that. So we are unable to review and comment and approve the meeting minutes for our last meeting, January 13th. So I will bring those back next meeting in February. I believe it's February 10th. Again, that was my mistake. I was working too fast. The good news is that allowed me to finally update our bylaws on our Academic Senate website on sbcc.edu. So something was updated. It just wasn't the right thing at the right time. So I apologize for not paying close enough attention to that. So we will bring those minutes back at our next meeting. So for today, I have an oral president's report to give you all. And I have several things to go over. Let's see, where do I want to start? Oh, okay. One announcement is that Danielle Swantak, Dr. Danielle Swantak, will now take over the chair of FPSS. I am very excited that she will be chairing her first FPSS meeting this Friday. I am putting together an ad hoc committee to complete the ASCCC, that's our State Academic Senate DEI survey. They specifically requested that we take a diversity of voices. They are saying that we take a diversity of voices that include Senate leaderships, equity champions, as well as Black, Indigenous, and people of color faculty from our campus. The information sessions for those meetings are February 8th through. I've already reached out to some to initiate that ad hoc committee, but if you are interested or know of others that are interested or want to do personal outreach for recruitment to participate in the survey, I would really appreciate your help in that. There's questions about us being permanently, or about faculty being permanently online after we are released from COVID situations. Many faculty members have voiced interest in moving away and have asked the Academic Senate to comment on this or provide support in different ways. Because the requirement of being on campus 3 times per week is outlined in a board policy. At the time, I think that it's not appropriate necessarily for the Academic Senate president as an individual to provide support to one faculty member or another. However, if this is an item that we want to pursue as a faculty body, I think that this should be an agendized item to be discussed at the Senate. So I'm going to be bringing that topic to steering next week, and maybe we will come to Senate with that or figure out some kind of Senate response to those faculty members that are asking about either going permanently online in the future outside of COVID conditions or not. So please know that the Senate will look at that. Okay. So another thing I want to mention is that you may be seeing a lot of emails about student health and wellness support. I know that the WELL sent out some items today. And I want you to be encouraging your students to be participating in those. I know with our extended social distancing conditions, things can be kind of tough on our students. That being said, I also want you to take care of yourselves and each other. Sharon Ramical from HR has sent out a number of opportunities to employees, and I want faculty in particular to be paying close attention to that. I've received several private emails as well as some official capacity notice that faculty mental health and morale is crumbling. So I want to make sure that as faculty leaders on the Senate, you're reaching out to your division and thinking about who needs support, not just academic support, not just IT support, but also perhaps emotional support. Not that I'm expecting any of you to provide emotional support. You probably all need emotional support yourself or social support. However, I just want to make sure that we're all, we're all in a community get together and that we're taking care of each other and that we're thinking about these things. Okay, there was an email about a new FIG to work on SLOs that came out today. The chair of one of our Senate committees, the Committee on Faculty Resources sent, Dr. Justina Bueller. There was a question from our non-credit side about whether or not they could participate in that. It turns out that the Title III does not apply to non-credit, so they are unable to participate in that. So in the future, I want to be more intentional about two things, or I want all of us to be more intentional about two things. Knowing when we, when we reach out, that we know ahead of time, we have those questions already answered so that we can direct it to the appropriate faculty body, but also finding spaces where we can include non-credit faculty in our equity work especially, and all of our professional development work. I received an email just today that BRAC is allowing a third academic senate faculty appointment. So in the interim, I'm going to participate in BRAC. We'll be bringing this to steering next week to have the discussion about the third faculty appointment and whether or not we'll do a full faculty call or how we will handle that. Another thing I want to mention is that this Friday morning at 9 a.m., for any of you that are available, Mary Lou Huerta in our enrollment services is doing a local high school application workshop for counselors, for faculty, for anyone that is interested. If you would like to promote your department, do outreach about the SBCC experience. We all know that enrollment is taking a dive right now. And so we can all do our part to promote enrollment. And this is one of those ways. Please let me know. I can forward the application to you so that you can participate in that training. In addition to being a volunteer for the training or doing the high school outreach, I just want to also say that this would be a really good opportunity to learn a lot about how our campus works, how we recruit students, how enrollment happens, the application process, how students are supported through that, and everything related to that. So if you're interested, it is tomorrow, Friday, or excuse me, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you can't make it there, please let me know. There will be a recording of it and other opportunities to learn about that stuff. Related stuff, sorry, that stuff. Dr. Dean Nevins, the Executive Director of IT, emailed me. He is looking for a faculty rep for a committee for the replacement of our campus portal. I responded back to him to ask what campus portal meant, but please know that whatever campus portal means, I think I know what he means, but I don't even want to say that here in case I'm wrong. Please know that we will be doing a faculty-wide call for a faculty rep on that committee very soon. Dr. Olguin mentioned the land acknowledgement in his public comment. That was going to be part of my president's report anyway, so I'll just comment on that to give a little background. Senator Ana Garcia was the one that questioned our use of the land acknowledgement. She mentioned that it seemed, I don't know if this was her words, but it's my words, so I will say it. This is my feeling about this. It seemed very performative of late, as our work hasn't necessarily been connected to any work in terms of equity, especially for Indigenous people and especially the Chumash Nation or the coastal band of the Chumash. And so, and especially in the remote times, it had a feeling of being performative. So if you were feeling that way, I think that's kind of where the conversation started. That being said, Dr. Olguin is right. The Chumash developed that language not only for us, but the intended purpose of providing land acknowledgements in educational settings, especially public meetings. So we didn't want to necessarily pull it off the agenda. We did want to start that conversation with the Chumash Nation, the coastal band in particular. For those of you that don't know, I did reach out to the chair of the coastal band back in December. She got back to me. She wasn't sure. And so we started that conversation there. Senator Ana Garcia has also been in contact with her own contacts of the Chumash Nation. And Patricia Stark also reached out to Annette Cordero, and Annette emailed me just yesterday. Annette let me know that she and Maya, who is it Maya or Mia? I can't remember. I think it's Mia now that I say that. Let me look.
Yeah.
Mia Lopez, have updated the land acknowledgement and do have new language to share with us for this purpose. So I haven't had a chance yet. I'm going to call Annette. I'm going to get that language. We're going to put it on here, and we're all going to feel really good about keeping our land acknowledgement and reading it before each meeting. And the last thing I want to say, at our last Academic Senate meeting, we had an agendized item where we discussed the NTC committee, so non-teaching compensation. Since then, I've reached out to the State Academic Senate for what's called a tech review, which is where they provide our local Senate with support. I've made contact with Dr. David Morse, who's at Long Beach City College. He and I have had several emails. He's getting more information about us, and I do hope that he has a meeting with us so that we can walk ourselves through this and figure out our committee structure, and so that it really works for us. So with that, unless there's any clarifying questions, that concludes my president's report. Jenny.
Yeah, thanks for that. That last point about NTCC and how you reached out, is the discussion about maintaining that committee and restructuring it, or is it about disbanding it and putting that concern elsewhere?
Well, I mean, neither. It's just a conversation to say, hey, we have this committee. I will share that in his email, he found this committee to be highly unusual. And so he and I had several emails back and forth about the committee, just providing him more information. I'm not giving him, my opinion. Well, I guess I gave him my opinion, but I'm saying like no work is being done. He's just going to come in and help us walk through those conversations. So there's no movement on like what we're doing with the committee. It's just that I'm letting him know that the committee exists, the background, who's involved, the charge, so that when he comes and does a tech assist with all of us as an open meeting, he has that background information. I mean, I think he certainly has his own opinions and like what he thinks we should do with it, but that doesn't mean that like he has a say in that or that I have a say in that. That's going to be a bigger conversation. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? Dr. Olguin, I see that your hand is up, but we don't take public questions. We don't have the Santa Barbara City College community participate in the meetings, but you're welcome to give a public comment ahead of another agenda item. So if there aren't any other questions, clarifying questions from the Senate body, we'll move on to our academic Senate liaisons for their reports. A lot of them provided written report, but at this time I'll ask if anybody would like to give an oral report or highlight anything that we should pay attention to in our written reports. Ruth, Robbie, Pam, Robin, Michelle?
I have a brief update.
Go ahead.
It's in my report, but I'm going to say that CAC, the Curriculum Advisory Committee, is right now looking at the role of credits in evaluating or approving non-credit programs. And there is some discussion of potentially circumventing credit But they are open absolutely to any input. So if anyone, either you as a senator or anyone from your division would like to be part of that conversation to either listen in or provide potentially a public comment at CAC, you can certainly do so at their next meeting. Once they finalize that guide, the non-curriculum guide, it is supposed to come to us for 2 readings. So the first time they come and hopefully present to us and point out the clear changes and the implications where we can ask them questions, and then the second time for our ultimate approval.
Ruth, thanks for that. Michelle?
Just a quick update for ITC. In the past, there's been some conversations about FRC providing or not providing sandbox for Canvas for those instructors who wanted those. And Rob did say that it's something that they look at and will be doing, and they'll have a formal process in the future. It is time consuming for the FRC to do it. But he wanted to let us know that if an instructor wants a sandbox, that they will create it, send the information to the FRC. So that was a good thing. The other issue is related to Chromebooks, and there's a lot of departments that have ordered Chromebooks for their labs, and previously there was a hold on purchasing these for a variety of reasons. Some of it was because we don't have students in the lab right now. Also, the price of Chromebooks is astronomically high because everybody and their grandmother wants a Chromebook during this time. And we were questioning how we are supposed to rank these. And also DTC is working on the project of bring your own Chromebook, which is not bringing your own, but having the school provide Chromebooks for students. So there's a lot of questions as to if we provide Chromebooks for all students, is it necessary to have them in the labs? There are certain labs that definitely will need them because they need high tech, computers for things that they're doing for their class. But the department chairs that have requested Chromebooks should receive a call or an email from their ITC rep letting them know that this is something that's being talked about. And Lindsay is supposed to send everybody an email. I thought it was going to come out today. I didn't see it, about how these are going to be ranked and what the college is thinking about in relationship to purchasing all of these Chromebooks. So expect some communication from your ITC rep and also an email from Lindsay.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Rob?
Yeah, just as a quick follow-up to what Michelle said about the sandbox courses, that question also came up at COI, and I asked Rob Brown to send me the discussion and the results, and he sent me a process that describes who should ask for a sandbox and who should not, and what another process is to have a working shell. And I put that in my report if anybody's interested in a sandbox course shell.
Robin, since Ray's not here right now, can you just briefly explain what a sandbox is?
Oh, yeah.
Here. I'm
Yeah.
here.
That's a good clip. That's a good tip there, Ruth. A sandbox course is a course shell that you can play around in, experiment with developing your course without students by default seeing what you're working on and being confused by it. It's also a place to build a course. And as I said, I put a detailed description from Rob about who qualifies to have an actual sandbox course in our Canvas system and who should instead set up a Canvas shell with the commons and how to do all that. So it's in my report. I won't go into it, but did that explain well enough, Ruth, what a sandbox course is?
Yes. And to
It's
be clear, Ray,
basically
yes, you were
somewhere-
here. You're amazing.
It's basically somewhere to play around. And yes, Ray, you're doing amazing.
Thank you. I think that concludes our liaison reports. Pam, you're good, I think? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the EVP's report. Dr. Ralston?
Thank you very much, Dr. Napoleon. I am freezing, and it is such a strangely wintry day, which seems kind of fitting for the January that we've been experiencing. So we have one good piece of institutional news. The Accreditation Steering Committee is pleased to announce not only are we done with the institutional self-evaluation and all of the work that that's entailed, but we have published it to the website. So in case you are really looking for more important things to do, you can take a look at that. Just go to our website, find the accreditation page, and then it's located there for you. And we're really proud of the work that it was. It is shorter than our last version. It's longer than we had hoped. We were trying to get it edited down pretty tiny, but it's a very efficient, brilliant document. And inside it, we commit to several improvement plans that we'll be working on over the next 7 years and reporting on in the next 3. So that's some great news. I'll be sharing that information with the board. Tomorrow night, we'll be talking about ongoing work, particularly related to participatory governance, equity, and inclusion next week at CPC. So keep your ears open for that, and then tune in as we have more opportunities to do some of the larger committee and governance work that Ray talked a teeny bit about, doing a technical assist just on the NTCC piece, but we'll be doing a lot more review of how our committees work together. So that's some great work that's coming. The piece of today, this week, and this month that feels rainy and chilly and cold is the effort that faculty have been trying to make on our summer 21 and fall 21 schedules. So I'm working right now on a memo out to chairs to try to kind of alleviate some of the anxiety about planning for the future unknown. So we're trying to get a portion of our instruction back face-to-face. We're starting smaller in summer. And we're making a goal of about 20% of our summer offerings on the ground. We're trying to get to 40 for fall. That's been difficult, and those are important conversations that programs are having, and deans are working as effectively as possible. I'm going to be sending out a note stretching our deadline for fall to next Friday. So if you're a department chair or if you're close to one, some information will be coming on that. And then we'll be working, once we have a functional draft to that schedule, we'll have a better sense of who is planning in-person work and what programs are going to need to do to be able to feel safe and protected and follow the guidance of what instruction should look like if we get to come back. So we'll be forming, it's very loose, so it's not yet a sense of what the shape of it'll be, but we want to bring together a task force of faculty, administration, support people to be thinking through how we'll actually map the schedule into physical space and reduced room capacity and social distancing. So those are a couple of pieces that are coming. And that's about all I need for time today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Item 5.4, request to agendize items at future meetings. At this time, we don't have any requests. I'm mentioning it explicitly so that we remember that anyone that from the Santa Barbara City College community that wants to agendize something for the Senate, wants to make that request, can email me or anyone that's part of steering and get that information there so that it's public. All right. Our consent agenda item, in my opinion, this is pretty exciting. We have good news, which I think we could all use in times like this. So the first item that we have on our consent agenda is our faculty appointees to the disciplinary hearing committee. And those faculty appointees are Benjamin Reyes from accounting and Linda Beers from DSPS. So I've contacted both of those and they are both excited. So as long as the Senate consents, they will be our reps on that as needed committee. The second item of our consent agenda is SBCC's nomination for the 2021 Stanback Stroud Diversity Award. I am so excited. It's one of the best parts of the job, of course, to announce that our nominee that will be forwarded to the State Academic Senate is the Santa Barbara City College COVID response help team that supported so many faculty members, I think literally every single one of us, to get our DE addenda approved so that we could have quality curriculum in these extraordinary times. So I am so happy to announce that after we make it official. If we make it official, I'll ask anyone from that small group that did that, if they're here, if they want to say anything. So I'd love to entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
I'll
We'll
move to approve.
it.
Oh, okay. How about,
Jinx.
Thanks.
okay. How about Jenny? You'll make the motion. Robbie, would you like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. So with that, we'll do our roll call vote because we are in these COVID times. So Cornelia, yes, no, or abstain?
Yes.
Counselor Jen?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Patricia?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Devana?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes.
And Anna?
Yes.
Woohoo! That's so exciting. It doesn't feel that exciting on Zoom. I know. Okay, so with that, thank you, Anna, for the emoji. Yes, the party hat. We need more of that. So with that, I know Tara at least is here. Do we have any other members from that committee that would like to say anything? Tara, I'm putting you on the spot. I know, but I know you helped with the application too. Do you want to say anything about it?
Sure. I just want to thank the sabbatical and faculty recognition committee for putting us forward. It's been a real pleasure to work with so many different instructors on this project. I think we've created this new network of instructors really getting in touch with each other and reaching out and helping each other through these challenging times of moving online. So I'm really proud to have been part of this team. We're actually still pushing through those emergency DEs right now. We have a deadline of Friday. So I'm just really proud to be part of that work, and I thank you all.
So I look forward to writing the letter of the support as the Academic Senate President for that application to go to the State Academic Senate, and we'll report back if and when we get any news on that. So thanks to everyone that was involved in that: Matt Kay, Kathy O'Connor, Elizabeth Imhoff, Carrie Hutchinson, Armando Ramos, Melinda Ganadara. I think I already said Carrie Hutchinson. Did I say Elizabeth Imhoff? Justina Bueller, and also Chris Kramer. And so many more. I know there's a lot more people, but those were the people to contact on the application for this specific endeavor. So yeah, I think the whole faculty body, anyone that submitted a DE addenda knows how supportive they were, and answering our questions and making sure that that really was our best work, and that it wasn't just hammered through for the sake of bureaucracy, that it was really intentional, really a really great, authentic equity mindset, which is what the Regina Steinbach Stroud Diversity Award is all about. So I'm really excited for that to move forward to the State Academic Senate. Okay. All right, information items. There is a Campus Climate Advisory Committee Town Hall coming up tomorrow. For the interim, I am co-chairing that as the rep from the faculty. I reported on this last meeting. Hong Liu is the co-chair representing CSEA, and Rui Garnica for ALA. So us three co-chairs will be there tomorrow managing the meeting. Additionally, there is also a Google form that is anonymous that anybody can submit comments, questions, not about the town hall, but just their life on campus and things like that. And we are going to be keeping a website as well, so that you are all, so that the campus is very well informed of the work we're doing, how we're interfacing with different committees, how we're reporting to the president, what action is being taken from those items. Tomorrow's town hall meeting will have the umbrella ideas of the institutional commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion, as well as leadership. We hope to provide a very supportive space and allow the conversations to evolve organically. So it's not that we are strict and saying that we only have to discuss those items, but we're offering those items to kind of focus the conversations, at least to start. All right, perhaps you've seen Dean Paloma Arnold has sent out repeated calls for C proposals. There's more information in her email, so if you haven't seen them, please look there. There's different, you can apply for different ranges of these C proposals depending on what the project is that you want to apply for. So these proposals must be submitted by March 1st. So please make sure you are checking your inbox for that. And if not your inbox, then I also have a link to the application on our Senate agenda. Just to be clear, the C proposals, that is for projects that you have to support disproportionately impacted students. All right, so the time is now 3:45. We have two timed items, one at 14 and one at 4:30. So we'll get going on at least our first discussion item. And I wanted to be intentional, I'm just making up words now, intentional about calling for public comments again at this time, as if anybody has a public comment they want to provide about item 8.1, diversity, equity, and inclusion in faculty hiring practices, before the Senate passes this item. If you want to make a public comment about this item, please raise your virtual hand in the field, in the participants field. No, not in the participants field, under your reactions now. Okay. I'm seeing no hands raised, so I will continue to introduce this item. If you've been noticing let's say the items coming down from the Chancellor's office, the professional development webinars provided by the State Academic Senate, there has been a really large focus of late around hiring practices, especially with focusing on hiring in terms of equity, not only serving the student disproportionately impacted populations, but also hiring diversity and inclusion. So attached to today's agenda were still different documents for consideration. And the reason why we have a discussion item today and the reason we gave these different documents, including our own AP 7120 for recruitment and selection, was to initiate at the Senate level about where we see we can make changes in hiring for faculty. As you know, not hiring a lot of full-time faculty this year. We have very few positions that we're hiring for. So perhaps now is a great opportunity for us to create, if we want, if the Senate wants this, create an ad hoc committee to look at our practices and to create more inclusive or perhaps even anti-race practices in our own hiring of faculty, full-time, part-time, or otherwise. And I say full-time faculty, AP 7120 is recruitment and selection for basically all positions at the college. But if we could be the leaders in that and take ownership of our processes in this AP, perhaps other hiring processes for other positions would then follow suit. So now that I've introduced the item, hopefully you've all had a chance to read through some of this documents. It was on our last agenda and we didn't get to it. So hopefully between last time and today, you've had some time to read some of this. I will now open this discussion item up for discussion by the Senate. Would anybody like to say anything? Robbie.
You know, I just want to express strong support for this. People learn better from people who they feel are the same as them, you know, in whatever category you count sameness. And I really, really strongly hope that we can include more equity in our hiring practices. And I also want to get the conversation started.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks for that, Robbie. I'll just add to what you're saying a little bit. If you have participated in a hiring committee in the last few years or have been paying attention to the board meetings in the last few years, or board of trustees, that is, HR routinely provides information about the demographics of our faculty body. They disaggregate that into full-time, part-time, et cetera, et cetera. They show us men, they show us women, they show us ethnicities and race and gives us a lot of information, as well as our staff and administrators as well. And then they compare that to, of course, our student body. And if you've been paying attention to that, you know that the full-time faculty especially does not match our student body that well in very specific areas. I'll just call it out. So for instance, we are disproportionately white compared to our student body, which is majority, my son wants lemonade, Latino, Latina, Latinx. And then you see more, let's say, diversity in our staff. And then I remember sitting in a meeting with Dr. Luis Geraldo, who pointed out that a lot of times that diversity is especially seen not necessarily in the student-facing positions within staff, but the service positions within staff, groundskeeping, food service, et cetera. So yeah, I think it's time in this age of focusing on equity and thinking about our campus climate survey and all of those things that we start being really intentional. Why did I say that again? Because I made it up earlier. Being really intentional about our hiring committees. I think it's time we start thinking about this. So with that in mind, I'd like to focus our conversation in the following way. How does the Senate want to do that work? It's going to be a heavy lift, so I don't think that we're able to do that at the Senate. Is it appropriate to create an ad hoc committee? If so, how do we want to go about creating that? what are your thoughts on that? This is an open-ended conversation. I know that makes Senate really anxious because we like to have work products. Hey, look at that. Robbie's offering something again. Robbie?
I'm sorry I talk so much. If we were to create an ad hoc committee, my question is to what extent does that committee have anybody's ear in terms of actually changing our APs or some other way of changing our practices?
Absolutely. So what I was thinking was, if we create a ad hoc committee of faculty, it does not necessarily need to be senators, although it will be born at the Senate table, maybe. That we have an ad hoc committee of faculty that then gives recommendations to the Senate body, and then the faculty appointees to BPAP, which are you, Robbie, me, and at this time Patricia Stark. We take that to BPAP and say, we would like to initiate changes in our AP. So thinking about how so there's how do I say this? I'm not very good at history and my expertise is science. So this is well outside of my wheelhouse. But there's social pressures, right? That then cause legal changes, and then everybody else gets on board with the legal changes, right? We need to have something in place so that everybody follows suit. So that's what I'm kind of thinking is we want to make our hiring AP, which is a procedure, more anti-racist or anti-racist to begin with, so that it changes the culture on campus, or not changes the culture on campus, changes faculty hiring, that then hopefully changes the and I have to get El Rey lemonade. So yeah, that's my thinking with this. So I guess what I'm saying at this point, and I really got to get El Rey lemonade, is I want Senate support to start this ad hoc committee, to start this work. Is this something the Senate is interested in?
I think yes, I'm definitely in support of it, making sure I'm not going ahead of anyone. I also think that part of that conversation shouldn't be just, the process of hiring and getting them here, but also the continuation of once they're here, how do we proceed? So that we ensure that we keep these folks and that, that they have some sort of mentorship while they're here. So I just wanted to voice that.
Yeah, exactly. So supporting the faculty that hire, especially if they have marginalized identities, so that their working conditions are as supportive and inclusive as possible. Exactly, Ruth. So I have both of the things. Trisha.
Yes, I want to say that, I definitely support that. And there's been discussions in non-credit about the finalizing the hiring process or procedure. I don't know if any faculty are on that committee, and then also the orientation. So if there's
I'm on that committee, Trisha.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then I know also I've only had a chance to meet with Joyce once so far. It's been a really hectic quarter, and that was one of the questions she did ask me too, was about what is the diversity of our non-credit, and I wasn't able to answer that. I haven't seen it, so that's useful to know about that report. Thanks, but I would be interested in if appropriate, non-credit being part of that ad hoc committee.
Yeah, I think so as well. We need to think about this across all of our faculty hiring for sure. If I know that HR gave the report, I can't remember exactly when, right? Days blur together, months in this COVID time. But if you were to reach out to Michael Shanahan, HR, he could provide the most recent report that was given to the board for sure. And I want to say almost 100% on the fact that that non-credit versus credit versus part-time and full-time is definitely disaggregated there.
Sorry, did you just call my name?
Do you not hear me, Olive?
Your internet was coming in and out. Might be my internet. I don't know, but we're here now, so it's all good. I also wanted to express my support for this and the desperate need that I think this is on our campus. I also want to reiterate what Ruth said in terms of making sure that we're not just recruiting folks and hiring folks and then not creating a system that is supportive and welcoming of diversity. And I don't necessarily think that, you know, assigning mentors or things to the faculty members who are hired is the solution to that problem. I think it's a lot deeper than that and on a systemic level. So I just want to make sure that we are not focusing on trying to pin solutions on the hired folks, but making sure that we're addressing what is creating those circumstances. And then additionally, I wanted to speak to when we're talking about these processes, they're being developed within this context of, you know, white supremacy. And so thinking about what these systems look like and what these processes look like doesn't necessarily lend itself to resolving the issues in the hiring processes, right? If we're sticking to the same systems and just trying to tweak slightly how we ask questions or, you know, still pegging rubrics on it and things like that's all basically replicating the same system with a different outfit. So I would say if we're going to go down this pathway, I would love to see us really get look at different models. I know we've had a lot of work with our EEO stuff, and I think that's, you know, at a starting point. The Q folks have done a lot of work out of USC. They have some great models. So I would really like to just push for transformation of the process in and of itself and not just trying to dress it up slightly different.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm trying to get at here, Anna. That being said, I think you and I and others know that this may be one of those, well, I don't even know if I want to go there, but you know, it's that analogy of like dismantling the plane while flying the plane, right? So I do think that this is going to be one of those instances, but if we don't start somewhere, then it's just going to be continued to be status quo. But I think one way we can dismantle the plane that is white supremacy that we're all flying is to get this ad hoc committee, is to get interested parties on this ad hoc committee. And so I want to thank you for your comment so that I can say those interested in really taking a new approach to hiring faculty, that is who should, in my opinion, be on this committee. And we want to recruit and we want to ask them to be on it. I think it's going to be important to be intentional about having a diversity of voices on this committee, and not for diversity's sake, but just so that they can bring their own experiences and expertise to this committee so that we can really be intentional about changing the AP.
Agreed.
So yeah, I mean, is this something that the Senate wants? I'll ask again. How are we feeling about this? I feel like I've only heard from like 3 or 4 people. Jenny?
Yeah, I mean, not too much in terms of offering new ideas, but to voice support again for it. And, you know, Anna's points were so terrific that I think if you want to do a serious dismantling or examination and then possibly dismantling of something like the AP, you really need an ad hoc committed group to do it. I don't think it can, just happen in discussions briefly at the Senate. And so it's going to be a lot of intensive work that I think would work well in an ad hoc group. And I loved Anna's suggestion also about looking at other models, because I do think if you just go through the AP, on its face, maybe you won't see necessarily a lot of problematic stuff immediately, and you're just going to be like, well, let's wordsmith it, as opposed to looking at totally different models that break something open and give you a whole new different way to do it. And if Q, for example, has something, I think that would be amazing to see. I know just from my participation in various training committees over the past years, the process feels like it's become so layered with like meetings and bureaucracy and rubrics, and it feels suffocating in a way that is almost working against diversity, where you don't have as much freedom to make choices with diversity in mind, even though that has been the goal with the training. And so I would love to see something that opens up the practices of hiring.
Yeah, so let me just say that my intention with this committee is not to wordsmith the AP, because we're really good at wordsmithing APs, right? So that is not what this committee, that's not what I'd like to see this committee do. I'd like to see the committee take a different approach to hiring, an anti-racist approach to hiring. Along those same lines, I think it's going to be important that we come back to the Senate with recommendations, so that the recommendations can be incorporated into the AP for sure. Ellen?
I just wanted to echo what other people have said, particularly Ruth, about the need for mechanisms for providing support to Black, Indigenous, people of color faculty when they're here, and what Anna said about we also need systemic solutions. So nothing really new to add, but you were asking what the Senate as a whole thinks. So I just wanted to register my vote for yes, we do need an ad hoc committee, and we need to be looking at ways to make systemic change.
Thank you, Ellen. So at this point, we've heard from several people who are in favor of this. I saw several head nods. So I think we're good on making sure that those that are in favor of this have been heard. How about those that are not in favor of creating an ad hoc and moving in this direction? Is there anyone that thinks that this could be approached in a different way? Is there anyone that thinks, I don't know, that the status quo is fine? Is there any dissenting views? Anyone that hasn't said anything that wants to say something? Kathy.
I'm not dissenting at all, but I'm just wondering if maybe the first go of this new policy language and a new approach couldn't start at our own AP committee.
Yeah, it could. It could. That's certainly a possibility. Thinking about our current AP committee, I'm not. So I could. So let me say it this way. I could see our AP committee wordsmithing a procedure really, really well. But I think we want to like completely flip this on its head. So I think we would want to have a committee that looked at this, that were champions of equity and people who have really studied it. So if that is the AP committee, I would be interested in them doing this work. That being said, I do know they have other agenda items on their plate at this time. So for instance, right now, writing an emeritus faculty AP so that we can have a clearer and better emeritus faculty appointments. So they do have things on their plate, and I'm sure that this is the best work for them this time. Ellen, I know you're on the committee, and I see your hand raised, so I was hoping that you could perhaps provide some insight.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Ray. I don't think the AP is the right place for this at this point. I think this is only my second year on the AP, but in my experience, when we've addressed issues that have sort of come down to the point of systemic change, we often refer it back to the Senate. We're really more doing the more, I don't think it's just wordsmithing, but more the nuts and bolts of working with the more concrete things. And I think at this point, we need a committee that's really going to be thinking outside the box, like you said, from a really strong equity lens. And with that, that is the underlying purpose and experience. And I don't think that's the AP.
I also think that there's a difference in assigning work to people and requesting, or not requesting, inviting people into work as well, right? So if we were to create an ad hoc committee and invite people in and be very intentional that this isn't wordsmithing, this isn't, the same old of, oh, what do we do and how can we do it a little bit differently? If we are very intentional of saying, no, we really want to look at this, that's a different assignment, so to speak, for people to buy into than, hey, AP, please look at this, work on this, right? Same thing with our students, I think, if you think of us as our students. Anna?
Yeah, just reiterating that point, and also wanted to add, I don't know who's on the AP committee, but I'm sure that there's a lot of voices missing at the table. I also think when we're talking about problem solving and trying to make conditions better for, specific groups, we can't have those answers being given by people who don't have the lived experience of how those systems and issues present themselves. So I think it's really, really important to get a very diverse group in that space that has not just academic understanding of what equity looks like, but actual lived experience of how these processes land on and impact, BIPOC folks, LGBT folks, women, etc.
Yeah. Robbie, I'll call on you, and I'll invite again if there's any dissenting views to mention them now. Robbie?
I just wanted to express wholehearted support for what Ellen and Anna just said, and a lot of what you just said about inviting people into work rather than assigning people work and so on. Fully support all of that.
Thanks, Robbie. So again, any views that haven't been mentioned yet, any opinions that haven't been mentioned yet, any other ideas? I'm not seeing any, so I think we have an idea of where the Senate is at this point, either from expressed agreement or from, I hope, what's silent agreement, as I invited for the dissenting view to share. So at this point, I think I'll talk to Searing next week about putting out a call for an ad hoc committee to work on this specifically, and hopefully we'll be hearing about some recommendations later in the semester. Sound good? All right. So I know the timed item was at 4:15. The time is now 4:12. And I do see our presenters here. So I want to mention that they are here. And Dean Paloma Arnold, are you here? I haven't looked at my list yet. She's not here. Okay. So Dean Paloma Arnold was going to be the one to introduce this item for us. So because she's not quite here, I do want to move on, and we're not quite at 4:15. I do want to move on to item 8.2 and at least call for public comment on item 8.2, which is board policy 3052, which is a new policy. We have discussed this at the Senate previously. It is the, it has come under different names, the so-called fraternization or consensual relationships between staff, employees, and students at the college. So if you are here to provide public comment at this time, please raise your hand in the reactions field and I will call on you. It's sworn we had public comment for this item. Has that changed? It perhaps changed. All right. Well, that's fine. So I'll call again, public comment for item 8.2, board policy 3052. Going once, going twice. All right. Excellent. And with that, we're now at 4:14. I'm not sure if Dean Arnold will be joining us or not, so I'll at least start the introduction to this item 9.1, which is the—
I'm here, Ray.
Ah, I'm glad you're here.
Sorry.
Hi, Paloma. Paloma, I'm not going to introduce this, and I'm going to let you do it. So thanks.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, and thank you for giving us this time to bring this forward to Senate. I'm gonna scroll, I just literally hopped in a second ago, so I'm gonna scroll through and see there Patrick and Evelyn are here. So I have the pleasure of introducing Patrick Martinez and Evelyn Lin. They're from the United Farm Workers Foundation. And just to give you a little bit of brief information about what they're going to be discussing today. About a year ago, we applied for a partnership through the Chancellor's Office and the League for California Community Colleges for a program that's being funded by the California Department of Social Services to bring free legal resources to community colleges. We were really excited that our college was selected, and we have had this partnered now with the United Farm Workers Foundation, is the organization that is providing the legal services to Santa Barbara City College and a handful of other colleges near our area. This all happened right around the time of COVID. And so right when they literally came onto campus for the first time, we shut down. And so I think, unfortunately, we lost some of the momentum of advertising that we're offering these services to our students. And this is actually open to students, staff, faculty, administrators, non-credit students. I know that they just did a presentation at School of Extended Learning and are doing some presentations in some of the citizenship classes. They just did a presentation to the Student Equity Committee as well. The one thing that I think is really unique and notable about the services that they're providing that's different than some of the other services that are available in our community is that they are actually immigration lawyers. So they have the capacity and the ability to help our students, our staff, our faculty with many of these processes that are often when people might go to other organizations, they are referred to lawyers, whereas the people that we have through the United Farm Workers Foundation are immigration lawyers. They're available to SBCC students twice a month. And they'll give you some more information about when and how. And I'm also just going to drop in the chat while they're talking that all of their contact information is also available on the EOPS website. So enough from me. I'm going to hand it over to Patrick to give you all of the good information. So thank you very, very much, Patrick and Evelyn, for being here.
Yes, and Patrick and Evelyn, I made you both co-hosts. I wasn't sure if you wanted to drive your own slides or whether you would like me to bring up your slides.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. I do have the presentation open on my laptop as well, so I can just go ahead and pull those up. And thank you for enabling the share screen.
Yeah, sure. So go right ahead.
Right. I'd like to begin by introducing myself. My name is Patrick Martinez, and I'm a staff attorney with the UFW Foundation. And I'm accompanied by Evelyn Lin, who is also a staff attorney with the UFW Foundation. Evelyn, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Okay, I imagine she might be having.
Sorry, I have muted. Good
Okay.
afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. And I believe this is my first meeting with the Senate. And we'll get right into our presentation.
So we do represent the UFW Foundation, and the UFW Foundation is a nonprofit organization in the state of California that provides immigration legal services to different members of the community, underrepresented members, immigrant communities, low-income communities. They provide free immigration legal services to the several offices that we have in the state. We have offices in Fresno, Salinas, Bakersfield, and in Oxnard, as well as one in Phoenix, Arizona. And through those offices, we provide services to anyone in the general community. But as was mentioned previously, we are now also, as contractors of the state of California, providing those similar and comparative immigration legal services to select community college campuses throughout the state of California. And so those are free immigration legal services, and they encompass a variety of services. So anyone that is affiliated with a campus that we are currently partnered with, such as a student, a faculty member, or a staff member, they are eligible for the services. And in some cases, it also extends to the family members of those particular campus members. So the services that we're providing at this moment in time, they encompass assistance with affirmative immigration benefits, which that can be considered to be an immigration benefit where someone is seeking to confirm their intent to live and work in the United States, where they're not simply just coming to the United States in order to complete a visit as tourists. They're seeking to live and work in the United States, whether through an interim immigration benefit or something that is more long-lasting or provides them a pathway to permanent residence or citizenship thereafter. So some of the common immigration processes that we currently assist with are assistance with programs like DACA and DACA renewal applications, family-based immigration processes, processes that provide a pathway to lawful permanent residence, that are more humanitarian immigration processes, such as an application for U non-immigrant status, for T non-immigrant status, for special immigrant juvenile status, as well as that pathway to lawful permanent residence that is available to some family members that come from households that have a complex family dynamic through the Violence Against Women Act. In addition to that, other services that potentially do provide an interim or a permanent pathway to an immigration benefit that would allow someone to live and work in the United States. But we also, in service of those immigration processes, provide assistance with items such as making requests for immigration history records to select immigration agencies, to components of the state or federal government with regard to criminal history information, because those are two aspects that are quite important in taking into account someone's eligibility for a immigration process. So our services also encompass providing assistance with making those requests and reviewing the effect of whatever information is revealed through those requests. And I believe that one of the more important services that we provide is a general immigration consultation, which is really an opportunity to meet with an individual, identify what options potentially could be available to them across a spectrum of immigration options. Oftentimes, there are individuals that are not familiar with immigration processes that could be available to them because they are not processes that are commonly known. Many of us may be familiar with things like DACA or a family-based immigration process or applying for naturalization, but there are other options available, and in some cases, those options do have particular time windows that must be respected, and so it's important to have information that would allow an individual to act in respect of their rights and to be able to pursue those immigration benefits before those options do ultimately elapse. So we are offering those appointments at this moment in time on a remote basis through a Zoom meeting or through a telephone call. We're currently offering them on 2 days of the month that are days specifically designated for Santa Barbara City College. Those appointments are generally going to be offered from 9 to 5 p.m. In some cases, we offer them from 9 to 6 p.m. Those 2 days at this moment are the second Tuesday and the fourth Friday of each month. But we've also extended the office hours that we have available to provide services on 2 additional days that are available to all campuses that we're currently partnered with. And so we're offering appointments as well on the second Friday and the fourth Wednesday of each month. Anyone interested in our services, they can schedule an appointment with us through a portal that we've created. And that portal can be accessed through this link here, and information related to our services is also available on the EOPS page of the Santa Barbara City College main page. And so there is a link there to our website. But of course, anyone with any questions or concerns or who would like some assistance with making an appointment, they can call our general line as well as the line of our more proximate office, which is in Oxnard, California. Well, at this moment in time, those are the services, and I would like to provide a moment for any questions or concerns that might exist. But Evelyn, did you want to also chime in and perhaps provide some information about the upcoming DACA presentations that we have, and as well the survey that we're currently completing?
Yes, forgive me if this is the more than not the first time you're hearing about our upcoming presentation, but we do have a presentation that's going to be taking place this Friday at 5 p.m. And it's an English presentation on DACA update, with especially with the change of administration. I think that's what our student community is generally interested in, regarding about what this administration intend in regards to immigration policies and what is going to be proposed through the executive action. And also next Friday, there's going to be a Spanish presentation on the same topic. It's also at 5 p.m. and we have sent out the flyers, promotional flyers, and the it's going to be offered through Zoom, and within the flyer, the Zoom link is provided. So anyone who is interested could actually just attend. And this is the first time we're offering the presentation, not just specific to one campus. It's actually multiple campuses in the Ventura County, as well as some Santa Maria. There's another college partner. So please join us this Friday if you have the time. It's going to be just 1 hour, 45 minutes of presentation, followed by a 15-minute Q&A segment. Thank you.
Much. Do you all have time to take a couple questions if there are any?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
So Senate body, senators, is there anyone that has any questions at this time? Amazing. No questions. That means you guys did an awesome presentation and made sure that everything was crystal clear for everyone. So really appreciate that.
Can I,
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to invite you if you have
I was
anything.
just going to say, Patrick and Evelyn, can you address the question that was raised in the other meeting about F1 visa students?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
Sure, of course. So there were questions during the previous meeting that we were attending before the Student Equity Committee, and that was a question about whether or not we could assist campus members that were F1 visa holders. And so the response to that is that at this moment, the services that we're providing, they're really more services that are geared towards assisting someone towards becoming someone who is living and working in the United States permanently, not someone that is here for simply a temporary basis. So while we can't assist directly with something like renewing that status or pursuing that status, we can provide a referral to another office that we currently maintain a partnership with or some kind of good relationship with. And we can also assist those campus members with identifying options that they might have with regard to permanent immigration status or something that would allow them to work and live in the United States on a more temporary or indefinite basis.
And yes, and through my consultation, I've had the opportunity to work with a few students who are foreign students and or exchange students. What we can do, as I mentioned before, we can do a preliminary legal research just on the basics on immigration law, and then we will refer to our private partner that we have collaborated them. The foundation has collaborated with them previously, so they could receive further assistance through our referral. And through our referral, the initial consultation is free. So just to be budget conscious.
Excellent. So thank you, Patrick and Evelyn. I am so excited that our students have you both and everyone related to our students that can access the legal information that you'll provide. Everyone, I put the link that Paloma shared with me in our chat, should you want to find it. Basically, there's a link that comes from our EOPS website on our main SBCC website, should you want to find that there. And I do hope that you share this out with your students as another opportunity for them to learn about this. As Paloma mentioned, that this was kicked off during COVID times, and so a lot of people might not be aware that students have this, that it's there, that it's free, and it's really important that people know about this so that they can use it. Robin, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to delay. I was just thinking through some of the information. I think we've had, I know that we've had representatives from your group do a drop-in for ESL orientations, but I just wanted to ask if you're available to do short classroom visits. Obviously, this is pertinent to the ESL department. I don't know how pertinent it would be to other areas, but would you be available to do short classroom visits to speak to students about your services?
Yes, of course. We thank you for that invitation, and we can also share some literature by email about our services and surveys. Some flyers about upcoming presentations and that summarize our services as well. And what I'll note is that with regard to those ESL students, some of our staff members, they do speak other languages besides English, so we can accommodate them in that way. But we also do have, at this moment in time, a service that we employ so that we can complete appointments with individuals that may speak a language that one of our current staff members does not, so that we can be sure to make sure, so that we can be sure that we do accommodate all members of your campus that seek out our
Perfect, thanks. I'll check the EOPS site for your contact information and reach out about some classroom visits then. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Dean Arnold, thanks for coming.
Thank you for giving us the time. I know that Senate time is precious, so thank you very much.
Definitely is. So thanks to all of you for making that. Okay, so the time is now 4:33 and we are going to move on to item, let me see the count, 9.2, is that right? Yep, 9.2, presentation from our SEM faculty on the SEM waitlist recommendation. Remember, this has come to Senate previously. We have a new iteration of this. We have some new things to share with you all. So I do hope that what you hear today is appealing to us as a Senate body. I do want to mention that two groups made support letters or provided support letters for us. They include the ALA, which is our Advancing Leadership Committee, as well as our, I need to remember this acronym, Student Services Leadership Advisory Committee. Additionally, since the agenda was, so I posted it as an addendum, it's now there for everybody to access at the same time, was a statement of support from our Associate Student Government. So I'm going to turn things over to Tara, who is now a co-host, so that she can drive the slides. Take it away, Tara.
All right. Thanks, Ray. Let me try to do this. You know how many times I share my screen in a day and yet I still get flummoxed every time I have to do it? You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, well, thank you everybody for giving me your attention today. I'm here to represent the hard work that the SEM committee has been working on for about the past year almost. And I do want to give extended thanks to the Academic Policies Committee, because they helped us to do some pretty extensive research about what other community college campuses are doing with respect to waitlists. And they were able to survey close to 120 California community colleges throughout the district. And what they discovered was that this is pretty much the current process for waitlists at our campus, but we're not alone. We are in very good company. So waitlists kind of historically have been haphazard, to put it nicely. And this isn't an intentional design for the most part. This is kind of a byproduct of using systems like Banner, which were not really equipped to accommodate having a waitlist for online enrollment, but now of course that they are. What we are proposing is to try to make the enrollment process overall a little more consistent by tackling one piece of that, and that one piece here are waitlists, to add some consistency. We know that registration is a source of frustration for students, and we would like to make it a little less chaotic as possible. So what we are proposing is pretty different from what was previously presented at Senate. So what I am happy to share with you all today is our proposal of trying to initiate universal automated waitlists. Now, this proposal comes from a very extensive research project that was done through De Anza College. They tinkered with a number of different iterations of waitlists, and we're taking some of their best practices into mind, but also the feedback that we received from Senate last time. So this time around, what we are proposing is to create a wait list that is set at about 15% of a class cap size. So that wait list will look different depending on what your class size is. Obviously, this would not be used for courses where students have to be invited to participate in a program, such as an independent study, an internship, or a work experience, but it would hopefully be applied to all other courses. We are also in the works with IT of actually revamping the system to make this a truly automated process. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about what that would look like in a moment. Lastly, but not least, we would also propose that the automated part of the waitlist actually turns off as of the very first day of class. And at that point, ad codes will get used, and the ad codes would be initiated through the instructor. Let me speak a little bit here about what we mean by a truly automated waitlist system. This is, oh, by the way, we're hoping to get this kicking and going in summer of 2021. So this is our current process for getting on a wait list. It's complicated, to say the least. Not all courses have wait lists. And even if a course does have a wait list, you kind of have to know how to put yourself on it. And then it's not really an automated. So student gets on the wait list, another student who was enrolled drops, and then they get an email saying, hey, a spot is open up, would you like it? And you have 72 hours to go ahead and use this code to enroll in the course. The problem here, of course, is this is all taking place before the semester has started. Students have often reported that they're not always checking their pipeline email and they miss these announcements. So what we are proposing here is to actually do away with that process and then redesign what the student experience is for both waitlist and enrollment. So in this proposal, what we are suggesting is that it truly be an automated process. So if a student puts themselves on a wait list, they are in position number 1, a student who was enrolled drops, then they will get automatically enrolled into the course. They don't have to go through that back and forth of emailing. They'll have, of course, a period of days to pay for the course, just as they would if they had not been on the wait list. But this is a pretty vast improvement from what students are experiencing currently. I would like to add, though, that you might still be asking yourself, well, is this really a question about just tech and aesthetics? Are there really any other benefits to having a wait list? And I would say that there are, in fact, a number of benefits for students to having a wait list. And I want to focus on just 3 of those benefits that I will talk a little bit more in length here at. So first and foremost, having waitlists, as we'll see, it really does help students to make more informed decisions about course enrollment. Secondly, it also helps to ensure a fairer enrollment process. And then lastly, it really does help to improve the channels of communication and support between students and instructors. So let me speak to each of these quickly with you all. We know from looking at the potential challenges and roadblocks that our students face on our campus, a big one is registration. Registration, and I know some of you know this, you have tried to sign up for that yoga class and you know it is not so easy to do it. So registration, it is complicated, it is a little confusing for students, and it goes beyond even knowing like which courses they want to sign up for. But compound that with finally figuring out what classes you need to sign up for, and then you get this message. Nope, sorry, but the class is full. So this can become a bifurcation point for students where they feel completely overwhelmed, completely stressed out, and wondering if they should even continue with enrolling in courses at all. And what research has shown is that what waitlists can do is they can really help students to keep momentum. They can stay calm and they can get themselves on a wait list, because what students are not always cognizant of is what we are. And that is, we know there's a lot of fluid dynamic movement in courses in the weeks leading up to the first day of class. So our proposal here is to allow students to get on that wait list to be a kind of source of momentum. It's with the woohoo, keeping, that tipping point to keep students going through it. Now, here's the issue. Right now, our current process for courses, especially those that don't have a wait list, this is the student experience. They're logging on to see if a spot opens and they're refreshing the page, constantly hoping with, keeping their fingers crossed that maybe, just maybe, a spot will open. And is this really a very fair practice when ultimately it kind of comes down to luck? Maybe you've been really trying desperately to get enrolled in the class, but the moment one student dropped, you were eating dinner or something. So we want to try to make this process a little bit fairer for students by allowing them to put themselves on a wait list to reduce the anxiety of constantly just waiting to see if a spot is going to open up in that course. This is also true when we're talking about students who crash a course on the very first day. a lot of students will say that the idea of approaching an instructor who they don't know is incredibly intimidating. You know, and also too, you know, who is rewarded for getting that one ad code that you're willing to give out? Is it the student who raced up to the room the fastest? You know, we have to think about the myriad of implicit biases that we might have. And for students, again, this could become a moment where they lose momentum, they lose encouragement in staying in their career and course path. So what we are suggesting here is that the current process where students kind of have to know how the system works by emailing a professor and asking for an ad code, or trying to crash the class on the first day and then asking for an ad code. You know, a lot of our students have reported that this whole procedure is very intimidating and overwhelming for them. And I know this firsthand. I'm a faculty mentor for students. And I would say that one of the areas that I spend the most amount of time with my mentees is crafting emails to their professors. I mean, we know we're nice people, but our students may or may not know that we're so nice. So having a waitlist is a way for students to feel like they have made an introduction between themselves and their professor. They now have something to work with. They can go to that class on the very first day, knowing that they are on the wait list, that they have a right to be there, that they have confidence in being there. And that hopefully then will make that enrollment process a little fairer for them. Now, I also know that some of you are thinking, but we always know there's that one exception, that you know about a student who desperately needs to get in my class, and doesn't mean I'll never have any flexibility about who can and cannot add my class. And will I ever have ad codes? That might be an important question for you to be asking yourself. And the answer is yes, you will have ad codes. You just won't have them until the first day of class. Or actually, it might be like the night before. I think that's usually when they pop up for me. And so this is what happens on the first day of class. You will note that on your roster, just as you can see the students who enrolled, you will also still see on your roster ad codes. But you will also be able to still see that wait list on your roster. And the wait list is not alphabetized. The wait list is in the order that the students have populated that wait list. So as an instructor, you can use the wait list as a tool when trying to figure out, well, how many ad codes can I give out? And what should the order be in which that I give them out? I will also note here too that if your course is genuinely full, you have, say, 40 people in your class and all 40 show up and there are no more seats available, but you have a wait list of 2 students, it doesn't obligate you to enroll those 2 students if you cannot do so. All right, so I want to make that really clear for us as well. One of the other things, though, that you can use with a wait list as well is it might allow you to kind of keep better track of students who are interested in potentially taking your course, because you get some information about those waitlisted students. And first and foremost, you get their email addresses. And so what I always do for students on my wait list is I send them my liquid syllabus, which, you know, here's my liquid syllabus. If you're curious what I do in my class, there it is. And it's a way for me to let students who are shopping a little bit to know, like, do I really want to take anthropology? And I can't tell you how many times I've had students go, oh, I thought anthropologists studied dinosaurs. And I have to go, no, sorry, that's a paleontologist. I have some family members who do that too. So it just gives us a little bit of an opportunity to share with students, you know, what the course is about, what the requirements are about. And ultimately, and I share this too with the students who are already enrolled. And, you know, we can kind of figure out like who still wants to be in this class, who wants to take this class. Sometimes too, I've heard instructors say, well, I teach online and I like my students to have a kind of week 0 where they can look at the Canvas page. And if I don't have ad codes before the first week, does that mean that if I have students I know who are on the wait list I want to add won't be able to see my Canvas page ahead of time? And the answer is no, that's actually, there is a workaround around that as well. You can, as an instructor, add that student ahead of time if you really want them to see your Canvas page. Obviously, we shouldn't be asking students to do too much work in week 0, but it's pretty straightforward and easy to add them. But I would caution you to just remind students that just because you're allowing them to see the Canvas page, that doesn't mean that they're enrolled in the class yet, and we need to be constantly checking that. On that same line, you might ask yourself, okay, I can see how this might be pretty good for students. Is there any benefit to the department for using a wait list? And the answer is yes. It's kind of for that very reason about student interest. It allows us to see, like, do we have enough sections open of this course? In my own department, where we teach a course with multiple sections, when we use wait lists over the summer, there were so many students on the wait list for those sections, we actually had enough evidence to go to our area dean and say, hey, we need to open up another section. So it can be used as a tool there as well. The one thing I will mention here is that some colleges have opted to have wait lists as large as their class size because of this, because it would be a very useful enrollment tool for departments. But the research done from that De Anza project that I mentioned really cautioned that and suggested that that could be very misleading for students to have such a large wait list. So this is why we're keeping it to just 15% of the class cap. A few other questions that I think some members of your division may wonder about when we talk about wait lists. And I just want to address 2 misconceptions about wait lists. The first is, the idea is that won't a wait list actually make my class size larger? And the answer is no, a wait list doesn't make your class size larger, because remember, one student actually has to drop the class in order for a student on the wait list to get in. So a kind of analogy that you might want to use and to be thinking about are like people who are queuing up to go into a room. The only way the person waiting in line can enter the room is when one person leaves the room, right? And this is essentially how your wait list would work too. One student has to drop before a waitlisted student gets the opportunity to enroll. And so what that means is that your class cap does stay the same. And again, I will mention that you're not obligated to enroll all waitlisted students. And this is particularly important when we're talking about courses where the class size is determined by things like safety laws, such as in labs, or if it's determined by available resources. And that available resource, might be think about a course with a heavy writing component. You, the instructor, might be that resource. I know how many papers I can get through. So that's going to be my limit. And waitlist would absolutely honor and apply to that idea too. Likewise too, if a course has a prerequisite, that's also going to apply to the waitlist. So the waitlist isn't some way for students to kind of accidentally get enrolled in the class. One other misconception that I just want to clear up for us today too is the idea that, well, if the waitlist is automated, does that mean that after my class is started, like in week 2 or week 3, suddenly a student is going to be able to automatically enroll in my class without knowing it? And if that was true, wouldn't that really put that student at a disadvantage because they've missed assignments and they've missed lectures? And the answer here is no, a student absolutely cannot get enrolled in the class from the waitlist once that semester has started. Because remember that the automated part of the waitlist is only taking place before the first day of class. So there's no reason to worry about students being at a disadvantage for adding that class late, because you actually are in the driver's seat about who gets to add that class late. Once the first day of instruction starts, the only way for a student to add will be the same way it is now. It will be through an ad code that the instructor gives out. So hopefully I have persuaded you all to see waitlist really as a positive, as a real beneficial tool for both students and instructors. Just as Ray was mentioning, we do have support. You guys saw the letters from ALA and from SLAC, and now we can also add here, ASG has now also submitted a letter. And I thank you for your time and attention.
Kara, that was awesome.
Thank you. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys.
I think we all want to take anthro with you now, or maybe paleontology too.
No dinosaur, sorry.
I want to allow Dean Arnold to make a quick mention of something particular she wants to share, and then I see a number of hands up, so we'll get to those. Dean Arnold.
Yep, mine will be really fast. Thank you, Tara. That was an incredible presentation. I just wanted to add that I just came from the Student Equity Committee, and they gave a verbal approval that this is absolutely a step in the right direction. The Equity Committee has other enrollment concerns, but they acknowledge and support that this waitlist proposal is a first step in the right direction to making the waitlist process a much more equitable process. So they will be submitting a written statement before the next read for Senate. Of support, sorry, statement of support.
Thank you for that. So we have a number of hands. I want to point out that the time is 4:53. We have one more agenda item to get to. Just in interest of time, if we don't get it today, we'll kick it to our next agenda, but I think we need to get to it today. So perhaps somebody wants to entertain a motion to extend the meeting. So with that, in order of hands, Pam, Patricia, Anna, and then there's a few others, but those are the first.
Super quick. Is it possible to get some written version of this so that I may share it with my department?
One thing I was thinking, Pam, since our meetings are recorded and posted to YouTube, I was thinking that I would find the time mark of where Tara's presentation started and then share that out so that people can watch it. Does that work?
I think so. I just don't know if my department will watch it, but but yes, I can definitely send that. Thank you.
Can I also just add, we have a very short, like 2-page Word document that has bullet points.
Yeah, that would be great also. Thank you. And yes, the marks in the video would be great too.
Cool. Awesome. Patricia.
Yeah, I just really also have to comment on how that presentation, the content was great, but boy, the visuals just blew me away. Tara, we need to talk. So I want to point out that this did come before the Senate last spring. It did not get a good reception. And what was addressed today is, I think, most all, if not all, of the concerns that were previously raised by earlier Senate. So I really want to thank the STEM AP, all the people that worked on this revision. In terms of moving ahead, I was actually going to say I would like to go ahead and move that we approve this. We could discuss it and get some measure on it. Then I thought, we really need to take this to our division first. So I'm going to be part of this. I'm eager to take it to my division and share these improvements with them. And with that, I'd love to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, Patricia, what I was thinking in terms of at the Senate, I was thinking of this being, and I meant to say this before I opened it up for questions, that in my mind, I was thinking this would be our quote first reading with follow-up questions. And then the next time we discuss, we can share with Tara and Sem the feedback from faculty, if that makes sense. Anna.
I think this is a great idea. Love it all. Just had a couple of questions. My first question was, since the process is going to be more automated, when the students get these new additional fees on their accounts, will they be notified? And if so, would a text notification option that maybe they can opt into when they're signing up for the waitlist be an option? And then I also wanted to share that I work at Oxnard College as well, and they have it set up somehow, I don't know the details of it, but where students on the waitlist can see the Canvas page for a certain amount of time, and it's automatically the case. And then if the students don't enroll, then they automatically get dropped from the Canvas. So I just wanted you to know that that's a thing that's happening there and could be helpful.
Thanks, Anna. Jenny.
Okay, one of my questions was what Anna brought up about the timeline and the fees and when the student gets notified to enroll. So thanks, Anna. awesome question. And I love the text idea. That was what I was hoping for. In my department, we were talking about this, and the universal waitlist is all fantastic. And I think we've been following that, at least in our division. What we talked about was that a lot of the confusion and difficulty for the student comes in once the semester has started, and then professors are following all different formats. You know, I'm going with the email I like the best. I'm doing a lottery. No, I'll use the wait list, you know. And if I were a student, that's where the most confusion and fearful part would be for me, especially when I'm in person. And I'm having to endure that with the professor face to face. So I don't know if SEM is working on guidelines or recommendations for once the semester starts, but I would love to see a conversation and maybe a little more universality about how we handle that, so students don't feel like they have to learn a whole new method with every single class they're trying to crash.
Thanks, Jenny. Kathy.
Yes, thank you. 2 quick questions. I was emailing my classes before class started. I always send out a welcome letter a week before, and I found out that my waitlisted students were not getting that email, which I think is a problem. I would like to be able to tell them that I will be able to add them, or maybe a faculty member would want to tell them that maybe they won't be able to be added. So if we could fix that, I think that would be great. The second thing is an RF, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, Kathy,
Yes?
we have that functionality now. You just have to download the waitlisted emails.
Yeah, it'd be really great if you can just do your email, your CRN email, so you don't have to do 2 different anyway. It would be easier. The second thing is we do have classes that have limitations on enrollment, and it's up to the instructor, which is a legal limitation. And those classes, it's really difficult to have wait lists on those classes. So that's maybe a little problematic. Thank you.
Ellen?
Mostly a question. First of all, I completely support this idea. I love the idea of it being automated. I also agree with Jenny about developing some kind of policy or recommendations around how faculty should handle requests for ad codes once the semester starts, I think is really good. I had a question about the 15% number. I just did the math, and for my class, right now, the wait list is almost 29% of the class cap. I totally understand why we wouldn't want it to be too big, but I just love a little bit more information about how you arrived at that number.
Madam President, I'm going to interrupt with a point of order. It is now 5:01.
Yeah, typically what we do is allow what our norm has been is we allow the discussion to run as close to 5 o'clock to allow for the discussion to roll. But now that we had a point of order, it is now 5:01. So does somebody, and we have to work for what the Senate wants. Is there a motion to extend the meeting time?
I move to extend the meeting time.
Okay, so Ellen has moved to extend the meeting time. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so there's been Ellen, so typically we move the meeting by 15 minutes. I didn't hear a time in your motion, so can you entertain a friendly amendment to your motion to either extend it by 15 minutes? Recently, we an extension of 30 minutes.
I'm happy to do either.
Might I suggest 30 minutes so that potentially we can get to the BP?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Bobby, are you okay with that friendly amendment?
I second the new friendly amendment.
Okay, so let's do our roll call voting. So we need 2/3 to pass this motion. Cornelia?
I abstain.
Cornelia abstains. Jennifer Hamilton. Counselor Young.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes.
Jenny.
Yes.
Patricia.
No.
Michelle.
Yes.
Devana.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Kathy.
No.
Oh, sorry, did you say Robin? It got cut off.
I did.
Yes, but I need to tell you, I may have to cut out to go to class.
Got it. Jen.
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
Ruth.
Yes, but someone owes me a drink.
That's 10. Tara.
Yes.
Russell.
No.
Trisha.
You hit the yes? Or,
Yes, no, or abstain.
my microphone's saying yes. I'm not sure why. Yeah, sorry, I was saying yes.
Cool. So you're a yes, that's 12. And Anna.
Yes, and I'm on the Ruth train as well.
Got it. All right, round of drinks for everybody. Those that drink. And sparkling water
Post meeting.
for those that don't. Yes, of course, post meeting. Okay, so that was 13. Patricia.
Yes.
Is that 2/3?
Yes, we needed 11.
Okay, all right, then we got it. So we will be ending at 5:30 sharp. Please keep that in mind. I would love to get to the BP discussion. So Ellen, we cut you off. So Ellen, was your question finalized so that Tara could get back to you?
Yeah, I just wanted a little more insight about the 15% number.
Tara?
We actually had a pretty lengthy conversation at multiple meetings about that number. And the number came from some of the best practices done at a number of other colleges who have researched it. We knew from the research one thing was very clear, and that was having a class wait list that was the same size as your class cap would not work. And 15% seemed to be kind of a happy medium. And also to note that if there is a bit of movement that is happening in enrollment leading up, let's say your wait list is 7 students. I mean, chances are you may not really ever get up like past 7 anyhow, because someone's always dropping. So that was our rationale.
Pamela?
I put my hand up so long ago. I know that there was something I was going to respond back to that was a question, so I missed it. But I'm really excited that we're back here having this conversation again. And I nudged Ray to let you know, we'll be giving you the document that actually covers all of this in a written format. So for those of you who need to carry something away, that'll be there. I remember what it was. Ruth, Anna or Ruth talked about a text message. Was it Anna? And whether or not students could be texted. Remember early in the conversation when Rayanne said, hey, there's a group that's going to look at our campus portal. And she said, and I don't exactly know what all that is. The campus portal is the pipeline system that we either love or hate. And we are looking at new, totally modern ideas about a campus portal that could actually do some of the stuff that we want it to do. So right now we don't have the capacity to integrate texting into something that automates that way, but someday we could. So if you like the idea of better ways to communicate with students in a more holistic manner, sign up to work on the portal committee. And then we'll be working on ways to communicate with students. And so if we can get to a point where we could text someone that quickly, that would be the best thing with the wait list, right? Because being really responsive is part of what we're interested in doing this. And the automation really helps with that so that you don't have this lag time. Thanks.
Yeah, Pamela, that was my assumption that it was pipeline, but I definitely did not want to say that and be wrong. And then have everybody think that we're finally getting rid of pipeline. Yeah.
Right. Right. You don't want to encourage that kind of excitement if you're not absolutely certain.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I'm super optimistic about a day that is post pipeline. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I would really like to wrap this up, but I see that Robin and Paloma's hands are raised. So if we could just get through those and then move on. Robin?
Yeah, I just have two quick things. One is whatever system that you're contacting students, and I would definitely say text message would be superior. Please consider making it bilingual. As a Hispanic serving institution with many students whose first language is Spanish, that would be
Yeah.
super helpful.
So Robin, that's for the portal discussion.
Right.
Not
I
in
just
there
want-
yet.
Yeah, I just wanted to just mention two impediments that would affect a few groups of students. And the other one is, again, I know it's already been said, but if we can find a way to suspend the need for students to pay in the middle of summer, if they happen to come off the wait list, if there's a way to make it happen in the first week of classes, that would help a lot.
Thanks. Paloma?
I just want to add really quickly that this is something that the Student Services is really in support of. And part of this discussion has also been increasing the training for students from the Student Services side, but also helping students better understand how to do this process, doing videos. Some of the best practice is that Tara spoke of are a lot of student training videos to help students do this process better and understand. So that's something that we are committing to as part of this process as well.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for that, for your questions, your comments, your feedback. For Tara and the rest of SEM, Ellen O'Connor joined us today, and Pamela Shaw was here from SEM. I sit on SEM as well. We're already hearing you, and we will continue to hear you. And just I want to mention back to Pam's concern about if we have something written to provide faculty with. We do have the SEM written recommendations. I will be sure to add them to our agenda as an addendum. I will also email them out to senators so that you can share them out to your faculty, and then they will be posted on our next agenda as well. All right, so now I would like to move on to item 8.2, Board Policy 3052. I'll ask again if there's anybody that would like to provide public comment for this, because I could have sworn that there was, and I'm interested in bringing more voices to the Senate table. So I'll ask one more time if you're here for public comment for item 8.2, Board Policy 3052, consensual relationships with students, or student fraternizing with students, or another name that this BP, another working name that it has had. Please raise your virtual hand now. Dr. Ogin, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
I don't know if this is going to be voted on tonight, or if this is still discussion and information. I hope it's the latter. It still needs work. And there are specific things that simply go outside the purview of what I think is even legal for the college to ask of an employee. I'm sure that it's been vetted by the many attorneys that sit on various boards and committees, yet I think that there are some things that still need to be reworked. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other public comments for this item before Senate discusses? Okay, so I'm not seeing anyone saying any. So I will go ahead and introduce this item for the Senate. We have discussed this item previously. This particular attempt at the at making or suggesting, recommending changes to this BP for the board is much different than the last attempt that we saw. I hope that the Senate is much more accepting of the BP in the current state. I want to point out that myself, Patricia Stark, as well as Robbie Fisher are your BPAP Senate faculty appointments. And we have been working very hard, as well as staff and members from ALA, to make sure that this is a document that we can all live with, that supports our students in a really meaningful way, as well as, of course, makes it so that it's not hard to have appropriate relationships with students and support them in a way, in a social way that is appropriate between faculty and students, or perhaps staff and students. I hope that you notice that some very significant and important language changes have come about. So for instance, fraternization has been given a much more narrow definition, so that it's not fraternized as in, you know, like are friendly with or in acquaintance with, but specifically calling out romantic sexual relations. I hope that you also find the changes to prohibited behavior reasonable and acceptable. And so with that, let's open this up for discussion. There's more things that I can say, but I know we're running late on time, and so I do want to get a Senate conversation going on this rather than me just speaking. Pam, go ahead.
Just a comment from one of my colleagues. Is it possible where it says, for the purposes of this policy, inappropriately fraternized means for faculty to engage or seek to engage in a relationship? Is it possible in front of relationship for it to say sexual or romantic?
Yeah, so let me just speak to that. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry I didn't have it pulled up already for Pam. So, taking a look at this, early on in the document, it very clearly calls out, so very early on in the document, I'm sorry, I didn't have it ready to go. So the relationship is specifically called romantic or sexual relationship here. It's called that in another, in the second paragraph down. It's also referred to that in prohibited activity here. So I think what you're saying, Pam, is here, for the purpose of this policy, inappropriate fraternization means for faculty to engage or seek to engage in a relationship. So that's where you want the change to be a romantic or sexual, right? Because in other, what I'm trying to say is in other places that is specifically called out, and in this particular paragraph, it's not explicitly said, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure BPAP could live with that. Patricia, Robbie, seems reasonable, right? Patricia?
Yeah, we actually talked about this, and I think you summarized it appropriately, but notice that there is a restrictive clause at the end of the sentence that's now on our screen. And I think we can all agree that sexual relationships with our students are outside generally accepted interactions. So I'm really trying hard to remember the BPAP conversation, but I think we agreed that that the restrictive clause at the end of the sentence kind of covered that.
That's how I took it as well.
But then, so for example, one of the examples given, and I know you've heard a gazillion of them, but for one of the examples, it was, you know, like maybe you want to work on someone's political campaign. Well, that's outside of work-related interaction, but it wouldn't be something that I think is inappropriate in any way.
But I think and so again, I don't want the hill that we die on to be the addition of 3 words that I think we can all agree with. I think what Patricia's trying to share is that generally accepted teacher-student work relationship, Michael Shanahan shared with us, and I'm just saying this not to convince Pam, but just as like a point of information. Michael Shanahan, who has a law degree and was a practicing lawyer at one point, shared with us that when you say generally accepted, that has a very specific definition, which is if you stop 10 people on the street and ask them, 9 out of 10 people are going to say, yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So for the example of like working on like somebody's campaign, you know, if you stop 10 people on the street and say, is the student working on the campaign reasonable, and they say yes or no, then it falls under generally accepted. But again, I don't want this to be the hill that we die on. So if we have to further specify this relationship word with those qualifiers, I mean, so be it, right? I think that's fine. Trisha?
I'm going to say that it's more like as described above, because there is not in more than just sexual relationship, it's sharing alcohol. So I think it's okay to not have in that particular paragraph that you were just looking at to have the sexual relationship, because it is as described above. And maybe that's all it needs is generally accepted as described above.
Yeah.
It's not just about sex, it's about drugs as well.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And let me just highlight that, let me point something out. Because I do think some people had questions about this. The bullet point about providers sell alcohol is specifically to an underage student. So, you know, some people were questioning like, well, what if they're an adult and this, that, or the other? Like, this is specifically for an underage student. So yeah, we can bring that suggestion, Trisha, back to BPAP and play around with the different language and see where that lands. Other questions, comments, or concerns? Jenny?
Okay, sorry, what you just said about how it's specific to underage, is that in there?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Literally.
you. I'm trying to look through. Okay, but it is. Oh, sorry, I was looking on my document, which was not right. Thank you.
And we had a conversation with like I won't say who brought this up, but like somebody brought up, so you're at a concert, you're at Santa Barbara Bowl, and like, you know, your student sees you in the beer line or whatever, right? And they're having a beer and you're having a beer. And is that a problem? No, it's not a problem, right? They're of age. You're not providing it to an underage person. If they're underage and you're buying it, that's a problem, right? Other questions, comments, or concerns? Jen?
Okay, so I am speaking as a representative of people in my division. So I think that there's a few people, and I invited them to come make a public comment, but I think they just preferred to remain anonymous. They are having a little bit of an issue, I think, with the wording. And so I think they are worried about making public comment because they don't want to come across as they think inappropriate sexual relationships are okay. But I think they are wanting a more definitive rule about what does it mean if someone is a student? Does that mean a student currently in your class, or does it mean any student at SBCC? And if it's the latter, people from the division are kind of thinking, well, who is going to determine whether a student is a current student, will become a student soon? So I think there's a few people are feeling a little like gray-ish area, and I want to, I guess, get some advice on how I can respond to these concerns. The other concern people are having is, so say there is like some innocent, totally appropriate, not inappropriate, appropriate hanging out happening. I think some people are worried, what if there's another student there and they see a professor and a student having a beer at a bar, they're both above 21. People are worried that there is potential for being blackmailed. So there's a lot of, I just need help in how to come back to these people and, you know, tell them. I think they're just worried about blackmail. They're worried, well, not to say that they're going to be doing this, but if somebody does get in trouble, who's the person that's going to make the decisions as to what is appropriate or not. Are these people going to be terminated forever? Do they get to come back? So I just think people are feeling a little unsure.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly appreciate people feeling unsure whenever there's a, let's say, a paradigm shift, a change in social norms. I think that makes people a little bit uneasy. Let me just respond to a couple of things that you said, Jen. So first of all, I think I think my bowl example was kind of spoke to the first concern that you said about, like, well, what if I'm out and there's a student there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it specifically says, like, don't give underage students alcohol. We discussed this a little bit last time at BPAP. Hold on one second, please. So Olive was contributing a little too much. She has lots of opinions on this. You also have to have, like, I can't remember the word Michael used. Maybe Patricia can remember it. It's not like control, but you have to have authority over someone, right? For this to come into play. So, like, if you are at a bar and a student shows up, you don't have authority over that student in the bar situation, right? So, like, if they're there and they're of age and they're drinking and you're there of age drinking, like, you don't need to walk away. You don't need to leave. That's not your worry. That's not your concern. The blackmail comment, this probably isn't helpful to you, but I just feel the need to say this as the academic senate president, and I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to anybody based on what I've said about this BP before and my related president's report. Like, we need to stay in the realm of, like, being reasonable and, like, not, like, lose our mind over this. Like, are we really worried about people blackmailing us? Because if you are, they can blackmail you anyways. Like, that's just stupid. Like you can tell them I said that's stupid because it's stupid. Like, let's just not even go there. You can be blackmailed for anything. So I don't even have a good response to that. And I'm making my baby tense just talking about it because I'm tensing up. I also want to point out that, there is due process here. We need to think about who this centers. The attempt at this was to try and center students. We had a comment from the student rep on BPAP who sat in BPAP and heard a lot of, I don't want to say adults because I think that's being paternalistic to students, but, like, heard a lot of us that are employed by the college talk about this and all center ourselves and not necessarily center students. And remember that this BP is trying to protect students from predatory behavior. So I have a hard time having compassion for faculty that are anxious that they're going to be blackmailed or accused of something that they're not doing, when there's literally been decades of young, impressionable, especially women, that have been taken advantage of, who have tried to speak truth to power and have been completely ignored by policy and people that they're trying to hold accountable. I'm not trying to say that, like, that means that, like, we should go after people that are, like, wrongly accused and, like, I'm not trying to say that. Like, what I'm trying to say is, I hope that BPAP did a really good job of making sure that people aren't falsely accused, and allowing for, like, us all to live together in Santa Barbara or the surrounding area without having our lives overly disruptive by an Orwellian procedure. So I don't know how much of that is going to help. Jen or whoever else is listening to me pontificate at this point. I'll also say, like, it's going to be hard work convincing people that are used to, let's say, being allowed to date students or fraternize with students in a certain way, that this is a needed policy to go after. I think there might be some, paradigm shifts for people. You know, like I remember back when I went to school, you know, when we all had like snow both ways to school and I walked to college, it was socially acceptable for instructors to date students within their class. And I think what's important to remember about this BP is just look at it as we don't want sex, drugs, and rock and roll with our students. And I would hope that a working professional, we could all say, yeah, we should not have sex, drugs, and rock and rolls with our students. And what is a student? Somebody currently enrolled at the college, whether it's
Ray, can I add one important item to address what Jen just said? BPAP was very concerned about due process. I think the point that my division also raised the question of, you know, what happens if there's a complaint and, you know, et cetera. There will be an administrative procedure that follows this BP. We're going to get to work on that right away. And the administrative procedure is going to go into a lot more detail about what that due process will be. What HR assured us verbally during a series of 4 meetings is that that it would be a process with a lot of integrity. I do want to also point out that this does address all of our students, every student enrolled at the district. So the question about when do they have to be a student? It doesn't have to be a student in your class. It is any student, because any student could take any of our classes at any time. So that's something I think we need to be clear on. And then I think the final point's a little too complicated for me to get into in the time that we have. But yeah, okay. Just, you know, do know that there's still a lot that in terms of the nuts and bolts of how this is going to play out, that's going to be in the AP. This is actually a lot more detailed than most board policies are. BPAP was concerned about that, but it was our understanding that this is exactly what the board wanted. They want this level of specificity, and we tried very hard to find, to do something that that would basically be acceptable to the board, but still respect, you know, the rights of faculty and staff. Thank you. Now we're out of time.
Okay, so can I just say one last thing? Because I will feel bad if I don't say this one last thing, is that I think they're kind of feeling like their lives as a human being are kind of being regulated a little more than they're comfortable with. That's all I gotta say.
By not being able to sleep with students and feed underage students alcohol or drugs.
I don't know if it applies to every single bullet point, but
well,
that's kind of the me rephrasing it, because they probably were much more eloquent in how they confronted me about it.
I doubt it. I would encourage them to reread the bullet points and ask if they actually want to, if they actually think their freedoms are being infringed upon. So with that, I'll say that it's 5:30 p.m. I made a very, you know, we said that we needed to end right at 5. We already extended the time, so we need to do that. So let me end with this. BPAP meets Friday, February 5th at 11 a.m. Yes, Robbie's saying yes. 11 a.m. Your representatives are Patricia, Robbie, and myself. So you can go to your division faculty and get their input, and you can either be the messenger to us or you can have them email us directly. They can email it individual. So for instance, if they did not want to email me about their feelings about this, I can understand that. They can email Robbie or Patricia. The FA also has a role on BPAP, and so you can also reach out to the FA. Faculty could also reach out to the FA to share their comments, concerns, or perspectives on this particular BP. So again, Friday, February 5th. And with that, I would love to hear a motion to adjourn so that we can get out of here tonight.
A motion to adjourn.
Woohoo! Let's go. Sound good? Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate you and your time. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Rand, can I say something real quick?
Sure. Our meeting is officially over, but yes.
Yes, I understand. just a request. Can we have a copy of this which is not redlined?
Yes, there was a copy that was posted on the agenda.
That is a different document.
Okay, all right. I'll have to double check with Rachel, but these are the documents she gave me for the BP. I didn't realize they were different. One was supposed to be black so that you could just read it, and then the other was redlined. So that you
Yes,
could-
it is black, but it's a different document.
Okay, it's not with the accepted, it's not with all accepted changes in there? That's not what it is? Are you sure?
Yeah,
Looks
it's
like it has the
shorter.
right date.
I could imagine that maybe some people were confused.
It says edits 11/12/20, and I think you edited it after that.
Okay, I'll check in with Rachel about that and update it as needed. I just thought that it was the same with the accepted changes, so
No.
I'll be sure to reach out to Rachel. Okay, thanks, Cornelia.
Yeah, it doesn't have that part about like the meaningful impact, right? The clean version. So that would be the part that I thought was kind
Okay.
of significant.
Okay, yeah, when she emailed me the documents, I didn't even look at them and I just
Yeah,
said,
me neither. I didn't notice it until Cornelia pointed out. I thought it looked really similar. So
okay,
great. Thank you.
yes, thank you all.